You think WWE protects their rising stars? Think again. Bronson Reed just committed career assassination on live television, and the brass sat back and watched it happen. What you witnessed on SmackDown wasn't just an attack, it was a calculated destruction of the company's golden boy, and I'm about to expose why this might be the biggest mistake WWE has made in 2026. If you're not furious after watching what they allowed to happen to Bron Breakker, you haven't been paying attention. But before I break down this absolute travesty and why your favorite wrestler might be next, smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications because WWE is about to enter one of the most dangerous periods in recent memory, and you don't want to miss a single breakdown. We're tracking every move, every attack, and every political backstage play that's putting your favorites in the crosshairs. Let's talk about what really happened on SmackDown. Bronson Reed didn't just attack Bron Breakker. He didn't just send a message. He systematically dismantled the one superstar who was supposed to carry this company into the next decade. And here's what's making my blood boil: this was preventable. Bron Breakker walked into that arena as the Intercontinental Champion, riding the highest wave of momentum we've seen from a second-generation star since The Rock. This is Rick Steiner's son. This is genetics, training, and raw athletic ability wrapped into one explosive package. The guy was untouchable. Past tense. Was. Because Bronson Reed, all 330 pounds of him, decided that Friday night was the perfect time to end Bron's reign of dominance before it even reached its peak. And the way he did it. That's where this gets personal. The attack started backstage. Breakker was cutting a promo, doing what he does best, exuding that natural confidence that makes you believe he's the future. He's talking about his next challenger, about cementing his legacy, about being the workhorse of SmackDown. Standard champion stuff. But what happened next was anything but standard. Reed came out of nowhere. No music, no warning, just pure malicious intent. The first blow caught Breakker completely off guard, a massive forearm to the back of the head that sent the champion crashing face first into the equipment cases. But Reed didn't stop there. Oh no, that was just the appetizer. What followed was 8 minutes of the most brutal, unrelenting assault we've seen on WWE television in years. Reed threw Breakker through catering tables. He slammed him against concrete walls. He used every piece of equipment in that backstage area as a weapon. Production monitors, weapons, steel chairs, weapons, the ring bell. You better believe that was a weapon. But here's where it gets really disturbing. Multiple times, I counted at least 4 separate occasions, WWE officials tried to pull Reed off of Breakker. And what did Reed do? He shrugged them off like they were children. Tossed them aside like they weighed nothing. Because to a 330-pound monster with something to prove, they might as well have been. The beating continued through 2 commercial breaks. Think about that. Commercial breaks. This wasn't a quick attack for shock value. This was a sustained, methodical destruction designed to send Bron Breakker to the hospital and send a message to every single person in that locker room: Bronson Reed is done being overlooked. And here's the part that should have every WWE fan demanding answers: where was security? Where was Adam Pearce? Where was Nick Aldis? Where were Breakker's friends, his allies? Anyone who could have stopped this before it became attempted murder on live television. The attack culminated, and I want you to really hear this, with 6 consecutive tsunamis. 6. Reed dragged Breakker's broken body to the ring, positioned him in the center, and delivered 6 of the most devastating top rope splashes in WWE history. Each one more sickening than the last. This level of violence doesn't come from simple frustration. This comes from desperation. Bronson Reed has been in WWE's system for years. He was Jonah in NXT. He was part of NXT's black and gold era. He got released. He came back. He's done everything the company has asked of him. He's lost weight, gained it back, changed his style, embraced being a monster heel, and still, he watches guys like Bron Breakker get pushed to the moon after being in the company for a fraction of the time. And you know what? I get it. I don't condone what Reed did, but I understand the rage behind it. Because WWE has a pattern, and if you've been watching long enough, you've seen it play out dozens of times. They find a shiny new toy, especially if that toy has a famous last name, and they push them to the stratosphere while workhorses like Reed grind away in 6-man tags and pre-show matches. It happened to Cesaro. It happened to Shelton Benjamin. It's happening right now to guys like Chad Gable and Karrion Kross. Talented performers who do everything right, but don't have the look or the name or the connection that brass wants. But here's where my sympathy for Reed ends and my fury at WWE begins. By allowing this attack to go on as long as it did, by not having adequate security, by not protecting their Intercontinental Champion, WWE has created a dangerous precedent. They've essentially told every frustrated wrestler in that locker room, if you want attention, if you want your push, just assault someone on live TV and we'll make you a star. Is that the message we want to send? Is that how we book professional wrestling in 2026? And let's be brutally honest about something else, something that's going to make some of you uncomfortable. If this attack had happened to a different wrestler, would it have gotten the same response? If Reed had attacked someone who wasn't being positioned as the future face of the company, would we have seen 6 tsunamis? Would we have seen 8 minutes of destruction? Or was this specifically designed to be this brutal because it was Bron Breakker? Because attacking the Golden Boy generates more heat, more controversy, more content than attacking a midcarder ever could. WWE just turned Bronson Reed into the most hated man in the company, and they did it by sacrificing Bron Breakker's health and safety. That's not booking. That's exploitation. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, it's a work. It's all planned. Breakker is fine, and you're probably right about him being fine. But the optics matter. The message matters. When you show a 330-pound man hospitalizing your champion with zero consequences, with zero adequate resistance, you're telling your audience that violence works. And in an era where WWE is supposedly family-friendly, where they're partnered with corporations and streaming services that demand responsible content, this is what they choose to air. Let's talk about what happens next, because that's where this gets really interesting, or really terrifying, depending on your perspective. Scenario 1. Bron Breakker comes back in a few weeks, demands revenge, and we get a monster feud that culminates at a major premium live event. Reed gets his spotlight, Breakker gets his redemption, everyone makes money. This is the best-case scenario. WWE has opened Pandora's box, and they might not be able to close it. Here's what should have happened. The attack should have been stopped after 2 minutes. Security should have swarmed Reed. We should have seen a dozen personnel pulling him away, reinforcing that WWE has control over their show. Reed still looks like a monster. Breakker still looks vulnerable. But the company looks competent. Instead, we got chaos. We got negligence. We got a visual that suggested WWE has no idea how to protect their talent or control their show. And the worst part, the absolute worst part of all of this, there are people, fans, who are celebrating this attack, who are posting on social media about how brutal and amazing it was, who are praising WWE for going back to the Attitude Era. Listen to me very carefully, the Attitude Era is over. It ended for a reason. It ended because that style of wrestling, that level of violence, that lack of regard for performer safety nearly destroyed this industry. We don't need to go back there. We don't want to go back there. What we need is smart booking. Protected finishes. Wrestlers who look strong without having to put each other in the hospital every other week. So where does this leave us? Where does this leave Bron Breakker, whose championship reign might be over before it really began? Where does this leave Bronson Reed, who just painted the biggest target in WWE history on his back? Where does this leave Smackdown, which just witnessed the most destructive attack in recent memory? I'll tell you where it leaves us, on the edge of something huge. Because whether this was the biggest mistake WWE has made or the beginning of the most intense feud of 2026, one thing is absolutely certain, nothing is going to be the same after this. Bronson Reed broke Bron Breakker. But in doing so, he might have broken something much bigger. He might have broken the fragile piece in that locker room. He might have broken WWE's carefully constructed image of control and safety. He might have broken the trust between the company and its fans. And that is going to have consequences that ripple through WWE for months, maybe years, to come. So sound off in the comments. Are you furious about what happened to Bron Breakker? Do you think WWE failed to protect their champion? Or do you think this is exactly the kind of edge-of-your-seat chaos that wrestling needs? Let me know, because this conversation is just getting started. And if you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of fan WrestleSphere needs. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's continue holding WWE accountable for every decision they make. Because your favorites deserve better than to be sacrificed for shock value. This is WrestleSphere, and we'll see you in the next breakdown.